It's 3 p.m., you're staring at your screen, the to-do list a mile long, but your motivation is nowhere to be found. The siren call of social media, another episode of that show, or just the sweet relief of doing nothing is deafening. This is the battleground of modern life, a constant war against procrastination and laziness. We search for life hacks, productivity apps, anything to give us an edge. But what if the answer isn't in the latest tech, but in the ancient wisdom of a warrior class that mastered the art of discipline? Imagine a figure standing against the dawn, blade gleaming, mind unclouded. This is the samurai. For centuries, these legendary warriors of Japan were not just masters of the sword, but masters of themselves. Their lives were governed by a strict code, Bushido, the way of the warrior. It wasn't just about combat. It was a philosophy for living with purpose, honor, and an unwavering focus that made laziness an impossible luxury. Their secret wasn't superhuman strength, but a set of powerful daily habits that forged an iron will. These aren't dusty relics of history. They are timeless principles that can help you conquer the modern malaise of procrastination and unlock your own inner warrior. Let's unsheathe the first of these powerful habits. The first habit is to know your ikigai, your reason for being. For a samurai, this was their purpose, their lord, their clan. It was the why that got them up before dawn, that pushed them through grueling training, and that gave them courage in the face of death. Without a clear purpose, action is meaningless, and motivation withers. Miyamoto Musashi, the legendary swordsman, didn't just wander around looking for fights. His ikigai was the complete mastery of the sword, a path he called the way of strategy. Every duel, every stroke, every moment of meditation was a step on that path. Today, your ikigai might not be mastering the sword, but it's just as critical. What is the one thing that drives you? Is it building a business, creating art, raising a family, or mastering a skill? Find that core purpose. Write it down. Put it where you can see it every single day. When you feel laziness creeping in, look at your ikigai. It's your North Star. It transforms a tedious task from a chore into a step toward your ultimate goal. Don't just have a to-do list, have a purpose list. This is the foundation upon which all discipline is built. The second habit is shoshin, or the beginner's mind. A master samurai, despite his expertise, approached every situation as if he were a novice. He was open, egoless, and ready to learn. He knew that the moment you believe you know everything, you become rigid, complacent, and vulnerable. Laziness often comes from a place of perceived expertise, or conversely, a fear of not being good enough. We think, I already know how to do this. I'll do it later, or this is too hard. I don't know where to start. Shoshin cuts through both. It tells you to approach every task, no matter how familiar or daunting, with curiosity and humility. Imagine you're writing a report. Instead of sighing, ugh, another report. Try thinking, how can I make this one clearer than the last? What new angle can I find? This reframes the task from a burden to an opportunity for growth. It keeps your mind engaged and wards off the mental fatigue that breeds procrastination. Empty your cup, as the old Zen saying goes. Only then can it be filled. By adopting a beginner's mind, you make every moment a chance to learn, and learning is the enemy of lethargy. The third habit is to practice kancha, or gratitude. It might seem strange to link gratitude with discipline, but for the samurai, it was essential. They were grateful for the opportunity to serve, for the beauty of a cherry blossom, for the challenge of an opponent, even for the meal before them. Gratitude grounds you in the present moment and fosters a deep appreciation for what you have rather than what you lack. Laziness often stems from a feeling of discontent or entitlement. I shouldn't have to do this, or this is beneath me. Kancha flips that script. It cultivates a positive mindset, where work is not a punishment, but a privilege. A samurai would perform the tea ceremony with immense gratitude and focus, seeing it not as a mere ritual, but as a practice in mindfulness and appreciation for the transient beauty of life. You can practice kancha today. Before you start your work, take a moment. Be grateful for the coffee that energizes you, the technology that enables you, and the skills you possess. This simple mental shift changes your emotional state. Instead of approaching your tasks with resistance, you approach them with a sense of purpose and appreciation. A grateful mind is a motivated mind, ready to engage with the world, not retreat from it. There's a story about a young samurai who complained to his master about the endless, repetitive nature of his daily training. The same stances, the same sword cuts, day after day. He felt it was pointless. His master, without a word, took him to the castle's stonemason. The old mason was chipping away at a massive block of granite. "How many times must you strike that stone?" the young samurai asked. The mason replied, "I do not know. Maybe 10,000 times, maybe more. But I know that every strike, even the ones that seem to do nothing, is bringing the final shape closer to reality. It is the 10,000th strike that breaks the stone, but it is every strike before it that made it possible." The young samurai understood discipline is not about one heroic effort. It is the cumulative power of small, consistent actions performed with focus and intent day after day. Each small act of overcoming laziness is a strike against the stone of your own inertia. This focus on the process, not just the outcome, is a core tenet of Bushido. A samurai would spend hours polishing his blade, not just to make it sharp, but because the act of polishing itself was a form of meditation, a practice in patience and meticulous care. And that unwavering commitment brings us to the fourth samurai habit, Makoto, or profound sincerity. Makoto isn't just about telling the truth, it's about living your truth. It means your actions and your words are one and the same. When a samurai gave their word, it was an unbreakable bond, as solid as the steel of their katana. There was no room for half-hearted promises or convenient excuses. Laziness often thrives in the gap between what we say we'll do and what we actually do. We say, "I'll start working out tomorrow," or "I'll finish that project this weekend." But without Makoto Uto, these are just empty words, fleeting thoughts that lack the weight of genuine intention. The samurai believed that insincerity, even to oneself, was a form of weakness, a crack in the armor of their character. To cultivate Makoto, you must align your intentions with your actions. It's a practice of radical honesty with yourself. If you decide to wake up at 6 a.m., you do it. Not because you feel like it, but because you gave your word to yourself. This isn't about rigid self-punishment. It's about building self-trust. Every time you follow through on a commitment, no matter how small, you strengthen that internal bond. You prove to yourself that your word has power. Imagine you're trying to learn a new skill, let's say coding. You tell yourself you'll practice for 1 hour every day. The first few days are easy, but then, a week in, you come home exhausted. Laziness whispers, "Just skip today. One day won't hurt." This is the moment where Makoto is tested. The warrior's path isn't to ignore the fatigue, but to acknowledge it and act in accordance with their stated intention anyway. You sit down and you code, maybe not for a full hour with perfect focus, but you show up. You honor your word. This act of sincerity sends a powerful message to your subconscious. My commitments matter. I am reliable. Over time, this consistency erodes the very foundation of procrastination. Laziness loses its grip when it can no longer find a foothold in the chasm between your words and your deeds. This commitment to sincerity leads directly into the fifth habit, which is perhaps the most outwardly visible, majo, or honor. For the samurai, majo was their personal code of conduct, the reputation they built through their actions. It was the source of their dignity and self-respect. Honor wasn't something granted by others. It was forged within. Every decision, every action, was weighed against their personal standard of honor. Would this action bring pride or shame? Was it worthy of their name? In our modern world, the concept of honor can feel a bit old-fashioned. But if we translate it into modern terms, majo is about personal integrity and living up to your own values. Laziness is, in essence, a dishonorable act against your own potential. When you choose to endlessly scroll through social media instead of pursuing a goal, you are, in a small way, disrespecting the person you could become. You are choosing momentary comfort over long-term self-respect. To practice majo, you first need to define your code. What are your core values? What kind of person do you want to be? Do you want to be known as someone who is disciplined, reliable, and hardworking, or someone who takes the easy way out? Your daily choices are the votes you cast for who you are. Choosing to get up and exercise when you'd rather stay in bed is a vote for discipline. Choosing to read a book instead of binge-watching another series is a vote for growth. These aren't just tasks to be checked off a list. They are affirmations of your identity. Each action you take that aligns with your defined honor code strengthens your resolve. You begin to build a reputation with yourself. This internal reputation is far more powerful than any external validation. When you deeply respect yourself, letting yourself down through laziness becomes a much more painful prospect. It feels like a betrayal. The psychology behind this warrior discipline is rooted in the concept of identity-based habits. Instead of focusing on the outcome, like I want to lose 20 pounds, you focus on the identity. I am a person who is healthy and active. The samurai didn't just do brave things. They were brave. Their actions were a natural extension of their identity. When you start seeing yourself as a disciplined person, making disciplined choices becomes the default. You're no longer fighting a constant battle against laziness. Instead, you're simply acting in alignment with who you are. There's a story about the famous swordsman Miyamoto Musashi. During one of his many journeys, he was crossing a remote mountain pass in the dead of winter. A blizzard descended, making the path nearly invisible and the cold unbearable. His traveling companion, a younger warrior, despaired. He suggested they find shelter and wait out the storm, even if it meant turning back and losing days of travel. Musashi simply tightened the strap on his hat, leaned into the wind, and kept walking. He later explained that to stop was to surrender not to the storm, but to the weakness within. The mountain was an external obstacle, but the true battle was against the internal desire to quit. Each step forward, no matter how difficult, was a victory for his will. He wasn't just trying to cross a mountain, he was forging his spirit against the anvil of hardship. That is the essence of warrior discipline. It's recognizing that the small, daily struggles against laziness are not annoyances to be avoided. They are opportunities. They are the training ground where you forge your will, where you build your honor, and where you become the person you are meant to be. Implementing these habits starts small. Don't try to become a samurai overnight. Pick one small commitment and honor it with absolute sincerity. Maybe it's making your bed every morning without fail. Or perhaps it's dedicating just 15 minutes to a project you've been avoiding. The size of the task doesn't matter. What matters is the consistency. What matters is the act of honoring your word to yourself. This builds momentum. The self-trust you gain from that one small act becomes the foundation for the next, larger one. You prove to your own mind that you are capable of discipline. This is how you reclaim your power from the grip of laziness. You don't defeat it in one epic battle. You wear it down, day by day, with small, consistent acts of sincerity and honor. You slowly build an identity so strong and so aligned with your values that laziness simply cues you and finds a place to reside. It becomes a foreign concept, an old habit that no longer fits the person you have become. And this transformation, this forging of character, brings us to the sixth habit, which deals with the very core of a warrior's mindset: courage. But not just the courage to face an enemy on the battlefield. Sixth, embrace Fudushin, the immovable mind. In the chaos of battle, a samurai's greatest asset was not his sword, but his mind. Fudoshin is a state of unshakable calm and composure, a mind that cannot be disturbed by fear, doubt, or external chaos. It is the mental fortress that stands firm against the winds of distraction and the siren call of procrastination. When you face a daunting task, laziness often whispers that it's too hard, too overwhelming. Your mind flutters with anxiety, seeking escape in trivial activities. This is where Fudoshin comes in. It's the ability to look at the mountain of work ahead and remain still, focused, and resolute. Your mind doesn't get swayed by the momentary desire for comfort or the fear of failure. It remains anchored to the present moment and the task at hand. Consider the modern-day equivalent, the deep work state. When a programmer enters a flow state, hours can pass like minutes. The outside world fades away. Doubts, distractions, the urge to check social media, all of it dissolves. They are fully present, their mind unmovable, dedicated entirely to solving the problem in front of them. This is Fudoshin in action. It's not about suppressing emotions, but about not being controlled by them. You acknowledge the feeling of laziness, the desire to quit, but you do not let it move you. You remain the master of your inner world. To cultivate this, practice mindfulness. When you feel the pull of laziness, don't fight it. Simply observe it, acknowledge the thought, and then gently guide your focus back to your task. Each time you do this, you strengthen your Fudoshin. You are training your mind to be a steadfast ally, not a fleeting traitor in your quest for discipline. An immovable mind is not swayed by the fleeting comfort of inaction. Finally, the seventh habit, live with an awareness of death or shame. This might sound grim, but for the samurai, it was the ultimate motivator. To live each day as if it were your last is not about recklessness, it's about clarity. The constant awareness of mortality strips away the non-essential. It forces you to ask, if this were my last day, would I spend it scrolling endlessly? Would I waste it in idleness? Or would I use this precious, finite time to do something meaningful? This isn't about creating anxiety, it's about creating urgency and appreciation. Laziness thrives on the illusion of infinite time. We tell ourselves, I'll do it tomorrow. But the samurai knew tomorrow is never guaranteed. This profound truth doesn't lead to despair, but to a powerful sense of purpose. Every moment becomes a gift, an opportunity to act, to create, to live fully. Your projects, your goals, your responsibilities, they are not burdens to be postponed. They are the very substance of your life, the actions that give it shape and meaning. When you feel lazy, remind yourself of the finite nature of your time. This simple reflection can be a powerful antidote to procrastination. It reframes your tasks not as chores, but as opportunities to engage with your life. You don't have to meditate on death for hours. A simple, quiet moment of reflection is enough. Look at the task you're avoiding and connect it to your larger purpose. How does this action, no matter how small, contribute to the person you want to be? How does it honor the time you've been given? This perspective transforms the mundane into the meaningful and vanquishes the apathy that fuels laziness. Every sunrise is a call to action, not a promise of another chance. These 7 principles are not just separate habits. They weave together to form a philosophy of action, a mindset of radical self-reliance. It's about seeing your life not as a series of obligations, but as a path of mastery. Each choice, each action, is a step on that path. The struggle against laziness is not a battle you win once. It is a daily practice, a continuous process of forging your will. The enemy is not the task itself, but the internal resistance, the voice that craves comfort over growth. By integrating these habits, you are not just learning to be more productive, you are learning to command yourself. You become the master of your impulses, not their servant. This is the essence of the warrior's path, not the conquest of others, but the conquest of self. It is a commitment to living with intention, purpose, and an unwavering will. This is not about becoming a warrior in a literal sense, but about adopting the spirit of Wuna, spirit that finds strength in discipline, clarity in purpose, and honor in action. The path is not easy, it demands constant vigilance, but the reward is a life of meaning, free from the chains of your own inertia. There is a story of a young, ambitious samurai who sought out a legendary swordmaster, hoping to learn the secret to his unmatched skill. After months of menial chores, the young man grew impatient and demanded a real lesson. The master agreed. He led the student to a narrow wooden bridge over a deep ravine and began to cross. Halfway across, the master stopped, turned, and drew his sword. The student, trapped, drew his own. They stood facing each other, the wind howling around them. The young man's heart pounded. He looked at the master's calm face, the chasm below, and the sharp edge of the blade. He realized any move could mean his end. Hours passed, the sun set, his muscles screamed, his mind raced with fear and doubt. But the master remained still, his focus absolute. As dawn broke, the young samurai finally understood. The lesson wasn't about sword fighting. It was about conquering the chaos within, the fear, the impatience, the desire to quit. He sheathed his sword and bowed. The master did the same and walked to the other side. The true battle is never on the bridge. It is always within the mind. The most formidable opponent you will ever face is the one who whispers that you can do it tomorrow.